Hello, welcome to another live demo from our Epicure kitchens. My name is Julie Baumensberger and I am an Epicure consultant, and that's probably been for a bit. When Ashley approached me to become a consultant, she knew I was a shoo-in because I have been using Epicure for over 20 years. In fact, I have the tea towel to prove it. I don't know if anybody else has one of these that there's always new swag, right? But this Epicure selection tea towel is one that I got many, many years ago. So thanks for watching. As I said in my intro videos, or introductions, reminders for the class, I am coming off a 3-day fast. So my husband and I do intermittent fasting, and we did a much longer one this time. So we were trying to decide what are we going to want to put in our tummies after not eating for almost 3 days. And I had suggested the Thai coconut soup from Epicure, and that's what I'm making. And I love making soups. I love Epicure soups for so many reasons. This is what it looks like. And what I really like is I love working in the kitchen. And one of the things that I've learned is that it's okay to change the recipe up a little bit, to substitute things. And hopefully this week, many of you have seen us substituting things. If we don't have something, or if our family doesn't care for something, it's so easy to swap things out. I do it all the time with other recipes, not just with my Epicure recipes. So this is going to be, it's a Thai coconut soup. So let's get started. Now, one of the first things I need is some sweet large potato, and the Epicure steamer is used in the microwave. Now, as I mentioned in some of the comments yesterday, we don't own a microwave anymore. So what I'm going to do is just steam them on the oven, and we have a gas oven, so things happen really quickly, which is good. And I'm just going to chop up the sweet potato. Now, we like things kind of chunky. Ralph always said I have teeth. If I mince things too finely, he always tells me he's got teeth he can chew. So I don't know about you guys. If you have little ones, certainly you want to put things into smaller pieces. What I really like about this dish is the colors. At this time of the year, I really miss the greenery outside. I mean, the snow's been really beautiful here, but seeing the colors has really, I've really been missing it. The other thing is, I have a friend who did a lot of catering. I used to work with her, and we always tried to make what we served as colorful as possible. My dear friend Kathy Shackleton, who might be watching this, was a holistic nutritionist, and she always talked about eating all the colors of the rainbow. When we have lots of bright colors, that means they're full of antioxidants. That's why I love sweet potato. And also, we feast with our eyes when we eat, right? So that's another reason I like to have lots of colors. And I also like to serve on colorful dishes. Serving platters over the years. My daughter Natalie has bought me some beautiful serving containers. So I've got a large sweet potato. I've just chopped it up. They're probably about 1-inch sizes. And I'm just going to throw this in the steamer. And it'll probably take as long as it would have to microwave. I had the water hot already. I'll just keep an eye on that. Nice thing, a fact about sweet potatoes, we love them. I love the taste of them. I love the color of them, of course. But if you buy sweet potatoes, don't store them in the fridge. Keep them on your counter, or if you have a potato bin. They are a warm, climate-loving vegetable, and it's just nice to honor them by not putting them in the cold fridge. That, and it's better for them. You'll get more flavor. Apparently they keep better, so I always just keep mine in the bin with the onions. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is get the soup started. So I'm going to have, the recipe calls for 2 cups of hot water, which I've got here. And again, cooking with gas really is nice and fast. Makes dinner a little bit faster, of course. And I'm also going to add a tin of coconut milk. I like using organic coconut milk. I also go for the high-fat coconut milk. A friend of mine is a chef as well, and she talks about the importance of getting our good fats. Coconut milk is actually really, really good fat for us. So I'm going to scoop out all the yumminess. When you buy coconut milk, there's always that layer of yummy fat on the top. Did you know that if you get good quality coconut milk, you can whip that up like whipped cream? True story. I've never done it, but I've heard you can do it. And I'm going to put in the seasoning. So I'm going to need, meanwhile, in the wok. And I found out that I actually had an Epicure wok. I was so stoked when I saw this in my pantry downstairs. I thought I had one, but I hadn't used it yet. So yes, thank you, Epicure. Okay, so we've got the seasoning, hot water, and coconut milk. And I'm just going to give that a stir. And turn down my sweet potatoes. This will come to a boil fairly quickly. Again, one of the benefits of having a gas stove. Now, I'm not using a whisk in here. I'm not sure if this is going to scratch the surface or not, so I'm just playing it safe and using my, actually, you know what, I am going to use a whisk, and I'll just whisk it on the surface. It doesn't appear to have a surface. If anybody can jump on and tell me, the wok is amazing, yes. Can anybody tell me? I'm assuming this, it does not look like Teflon. It looks like some other great coating. So I'm not worried about scratching it. I'm just going to give it a good stir. Okay, and I'm going to cover it. Now I did find my wok. I could not find my lid. So I'm just going to use the lid from a large pot that I have, and that'll do the same thing. Okay, the sweet potatoes are steaming nicely. I'm just going to give them a bit of a shake. Steaming is a great way to cook vegetables in a hurry. I like it because they keep their color. Again, we don't have a microwave, so in fact the light that you see here, this is where our microwave used to be, and we put in a panel with a light in there instead, and the light changes colors. I was going to put it onto purple for Epicure, but I couldn't find the remote to change the colors. I talked about swapping things out, so this recipe calls for 2 cups of baby bok choy. Bok choy. Like, does that not sound like a chicken? I was joking about that earlier. I have some Napa cabbage, and after our soup, we are going to have a nice Asian salad, and I'll talk a little bit about that later, but I used most of the Napa cabbage for that. And then I've got, you know, when you get to the bottom of it, you've got the coarser chunks and it gets quite thick in the middle. I'm just going to chop that up. It's also an Asian green, so it qualifies. And I'm just going to cut it into thick slices and then cut them into smaller pieces. And the other thing is, I love that we can use up leftovers in the fridge. I had a little bit of spinach, so we'll get that green color. The Napa cabbage is a pale green, but it's going to be yummy. And the other thing I really love about using Epicure, yes, I did start with the extraordinary cheese dip. That's what got me hooked over 20 years ago. But what I really love is all the different cuisines from all over the world that we've been able to try out and make in our own homes. And with these seasonings being so spot on, it's very rare that I have to add anything. You know, sometimes because we really love ginger, sometimes I add a little bit more ginger to something, or just checking this, or adding a little bit. But it's so nice. You can do Thai cuisine, you can do Greek cuisine, you can do Mexican cuisine, all these different flavors. So my family is Ukrainian, Ralph's family is German, and so I love cooking. But we never ate Thai growing up at home. We never ate really. Greek food was sometimes very similar to us as far as the salads went, but I didn't really get to eat a lot of other foods from other countries. So I love that with Epicure I get to explore a little bit. I'm just going to grab a fork and check these sweet potatoes. Oh, they'll be done in a little bit. Getting close. Now you don't have to have them mushy because we are going to just cook them for another minute in the soup. And this has not come to a boil yet either. So that means I have a little bit of time to talk. It also calls for tofu. Now, the only time I have tofu is if I get, what's that dish from, there's a restaurant in Guelph that we totally love, and they serve tofu with their, I think it's either their buttered chicken or their chicken pad thai. That's got the tofu in it. So I like it when it's authentic tofu, but as a rule we don't eat a lot of it in our house, so it called for a block of medium firm tofu. And in the instructions, so whenever you get a recipe, whether it's on the back of the seasoning or you can print it out from the website, you always get a few hints for things you can opt out or if you want to change anything. And one of the things that it did mention that if you don't have tofu, you can add any kind of cubed meat. So I still have some of that chicken left over, and I've got that cubed up and minced up, so we're going to add that in there instead. And as I said, I had some spinach in the fridge, so I'm going to throw that in. I don't go out, so it's just the two of us at home right now, so I don't grocery shop more than once every week, week and a half sometimes. All right, this has come to a nice boil, so I'm literally following these instructions. Okay, so hands up or just make a comment. If you try something new for the very first time, do you follow the directions or the instructions? And this is one rule that I do have in the kitchen, is that if I'm trying something new for the first time, I like to follow the instructions as is. And that kind of gives me an idea of what, you know, their intention was for how it's supposed to taste or how it's supposed to be. And I'm assuming that it's going to be foolproof that way. But I will, as I've shown you tonight, will opt out, swap out some of the ingredients sometimes. Okay, so meanwhile in wok, combine seasoning, hot water, and coconut milk, cover, bring to a boil, which it has done. I'm going to add the bok choy. It depends on the recipe, yeah. So I'm going to add the bok choy, which looks suspiciously like Napa cabbage. And I may have a little bit more than 2 heads worth, but that's okay. Maybe I'll just leave a little bit of it. And I'll add that to the salad. And then I'm going to add my spinach as well. I can start to smell this already. I'm going to give that a stir. And just gorgeous colors. Gorgeous colors. Now I do want this, actually I should have held off on the spinach a little bit. Everybody knows that you can take like a bushel of spinach, and when you cook it down it's like half a cup of spinach, right? So ideally I would have cooked this a little bit, cooked the Napa cabbage a little bit before throwing in the spinach, but that's okay. There's no mistakes in the kitchen, right? Just going to check the sweet potatoes. And they're almost there, so the timing is working out. I would have had time. I wasn't sure if I would have time with everything to do all the chopping in my demo, but called for a cup of mushrooms. Now this was one large mushroom, so I did decide to chop it up. It's a portobello mushroom, so if you ever cooked with the portobellos, you know that they have that black underside, and if you overcook it sometimes it does discolor everything, so I'm going to make sure that those only get added at the very last minute. We used to grow mushrooms, so any chance that I can, I buy mushrooms every week when I go grocery shopping, so any chance that I have to incorporate mushrooms into a meal, I really love. You could use button mushrooms, you could use shiitake mushrooms would be really nice in this. Brown mushrooms, which are called creminis. Now, factoid, because we did grow mushrooms before, did you know what the difference is between the white button mushrooms and the brown cremini mushrooms? If anybody has, I'm just going to actually give you that question, and then if you know the answer, type it in the comments. Because there is only one difference between those brown cremini mushrooms and the white button mushrooms that we all know. So if you know, drop it in the comments. So this is coming on. There's some red bell peppers in that seasoning, which is really nice. So we're getting a little bit of the red color as well. So I'm going to add I add the Napa cabbage. I added the mushrooms. The sweet potato is almost done. So I'll ask a question, since I just have a minute or two to wait yet, is what have you loved so far about the way we're doing this event? I think it's a lot of fun to get to see everybody's kitchens, and we just recently painted our kitchen. Well, it was last June, and these used to be brown, that oak kitchen from 1985, and my daughter said, "Mom, got to do something about those brown cupboards." So we hosted a wedding for our niece, and I took all the cupboard doors off and sanded them all and primed them all and painted them this white color. And it took a long time. It took me almost a month to do it, but we just love how it's opened up the kitchen and it looks so nice and bright. So it was really funny seeing everybody's comments about their kitchens and what their dream kitchen would look like. This is pretty much my dream kitchen. Whenever we have people over, which is not as often as usual, of course, these days, but whenever we do, it's just so nice to have people milling about the kitchen. We have a large island in the middle, and the island has cupboards underneath it, so it's really good to store things, but as well, it's probably about 4 feet across and maybe 7 feet long. So it's a great workspace if I need extra counter space. And it's also really good. We love to do buffet style. When we have a lot of people over, just let people go, "Yeah, thanks, girls. Yana and Catherine have seen my kitchen for real." So the answer about the mushrooms, nobody guessed it properly yet. So the only difference between white mushrooms and brown mushrooms is that the brown mushrooms have been grown with lights, more lights. So if you were to take because we grew mushrooms, if you were to take white mushroom spores, inoculate some straw, which is how you grow mushrooms, you can put it in straw or whatever base they're grown in, and if you grow them in the full sunlight, they're going to turn brown. If you grow them indoors under low level lighting, they're going to be white. And that's the only difference between them. Now, having said that, if they are grown outside, they actually absorb vitamin D. This is true, this is real science. If you were to take some mushrooms and in the summertime just leave those mushrooms outside on a plate or on a tray, on your table, on your deck table, for a couple of minutes, they absorb vitamin D, which is what we really need right now, especially in the winter months. So kind of hard to do that in the wintertime, but just a few mushroom facts for you. All right, so this is coming along nicely. The bok choy, aka Napa cabbage, is done. The mushrooms are going to get added in. Now this is going to turn out to be a little bit more like a stew for us tonight because there is extra veg in here, and that's okay. And I'm just going to tip these gorgeous, gorgeous sweet potatoes in there as well. Oh man, this looks so pretty. I'll show you a picture of it. I don't want to tip it because chances are. Now you could throw anything in here. If you had some bean sprouts left over, if you had some extra red bell peppers that you wanted to add in, you could certainly do that. This looks so pretty. And the finishing touch on this is half a lime, which is optional. I think it was a half a lime. And I was all set and gung-ho with this citrus press, which is amazing. Thank you, Ashley, for talking me into getting one of these. It is amazing. So the green one is where you put your limes, and then for the larger sized lemon, you flip this open and you put the lemon in that part. But I don't have any limes, and I sliced up the last of our lemons. So I'm just going to use a couple of drops of lime essential oil and throw them in there. When you use essential oils in the kitchen, you do not need a lot. Okay, the other thing that was added to this recipe was the tofu, and oh man, I can smell that lime now. And then I'm just going to add the chicken in there and let it get warmed through. So this would have been a lot more colorful if I'd had more green things, like more spinach. The bok choy is certainly more green than the Napa cabbage, but that's okay. what I decided to do instead was, on the ingredients of the package, it did say that there is basil in the seasoning, so I have some fresh basil leaves. I always have 1 or 2 basil plants on my windowsill. It's so easy to grow inside. If you're cooking Italian or any kind of dish that would, spaghetti, I love, oh yeah, and it just brings that green color and also that aroma. I'm just getting a few more leaves because they're so beautiful. Zares is usually a really good, and you can see these are like high-end plants. Once you start using your plant and you just keep it on your windowsill, it doesn't need to be full sunlight, that's fine, and you just keep pinching them back. I've had plants last for months. The leaves get a little bit smaller, but they're amazing. Oh, this smells so good. It may be that I'm hungry, but it smells so good. Okay, so it's 5:51, so I started at 5:30, so that was about 20 minutes, and that was mainly waiting on the sweet potato. And because I used the Napa cabbage. So that, okay, I have to try it. Sorry, guys. I love doing this when I'm teaching any kind of class. I always like to be the guinea pig. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That is so good. All right, so that's the soup. I'm just going to cover it up. I'm going to turn it off and cover it up. Oh, I didn't let you see it. Hold on. Let me do this. You can sort of see it there, I guess, if the steam isn't covering it up. And because it's soup, we're going to have, there we go. We're going to have, I have a really nice loaf of artisan bread that we're going to have with some butter on it. And the other thing that I made, I prepared some Napa cabbage. So this is the top half of what I sliced up. So all I did was chop it up finely. And then I made the sesame ginger. I thought this would kind of go with the theme of our dinner tonight. So sesame ginger is a great seasoning. You can do so many things with our seasonings, which I love, love, love. When you read the label, it has the instructions on how to make the dressing, if it's a salad dressing, which this is. So to this I added some olive oil. It called for some rice vinegar, but I only had apple cider vinegar at home right now. And I added, so apple cider vinegar, rice vinegar, some soy sauce, and some olive oil. And if you want to, you can use it just as a salad dressing. If you want to make it like a true creamy sesame dressing, you would add a little bit of peanut butter to your dressing, which is really good. I made this up a little while ago. With the salad dressings, I like to make them up before dinner, about a half hour, and then just keep them in the fridge. I usually make, so this is one batch. That'll be good for a few different salads. And this is just, my cruet is filled with another salad dressing. So this is just a glass jar from kombucha, from Rise Kombucha, which I love. And I just made this ahead of time. Shake it up. So all of the herbs have hydrated really nicely. And then to the chopped cabbage that I had there, I used our cool julienne thing, our mandoline. I've got some carrots. I've got some red onion sliced up. I've got some beautiful bell peppers. I like a little bit of crunch, and I don't have any hard noodles. I'm going to add a little bit of a few walnuts, and just for extra color, I often like to add either pumpkin seeds or dried cranberries. Check these pomegranate seeds out. These are so beautiful. So I'm just going to sprinkle that on top. I may or may not add a few more basil leaves to that, but just check out this glorious color. And it smells delicious too. All right, so I think I covered everything I wanted to talk about. Just going to cover that soup. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Thank you for watching, and yeah, I look forward to seeing what everybody's making for dinner tomorrow night. Alrighty. Thanks for watching. Have a great evening.